In this video we will talk about what happens with the solar system when we activate export control. Because most systems in Thailand are activated with export control. So what does that mean? It means that the system does not send electricity out to the grid. And we have something that we need to differentiate it from, and that is the function of anti-islanding. Anti-islanding is when the grid is down and the inverter stops. Because you cannot have your inverter islanding, meaning producing electricity when there's no electricity on the grid. So that functionality is called anti-islanding. So in all practicality, what it means is that when you have a power cut, your inverter stops. That's the anti-islanding. And that's really important. All inverters must have that, and they must do that. But that has nothing to do with export control. So let's define export control properly. Export control is the limiting of electricity going out on the grid when the grid is up. So that's the definition of export control. You know, we don't only want to have anti-islanding. Absolutely not. And why is that? Well, it's because when you don't have an agreement for selling electricity, the PEA don't want you and the MEA don't want you to send electricity out to the grid. Now, this is of course very different depending on which country you are in and everything, but I'm talking about Thailand here. So export control is that's the normal function of all the solar systems that we set up. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to send out anything at all. It's like a water tap that you can't, there's dripping a little bit from it. That's fine. That's not dangerous. It's not bad. It's normal. Export control will have a little bit of electricity dripping out, so to speak. You can see that here. Even though the export control is activated, there's a tiny bit, 0.3 kilowatt hours, which is completely normal. Why is it like that? It's because it's software controlled. So it's difficult for the system when there's abrupt changes to adjust the production of solar power according to what you need. Because that is exactly what the system does when export control is activated. The solar production is reduced to the load. So the load is what you are using in the house, and the effect of that is that these graphs will overlap. So here we have PV selected and load selected. The graphs overlap, not always, not perfectly, but very, very well. That's export control. Now, if we take a look more closely, we can see that early in the morning there are a few spots where it doesn't overlap, and late afternoon there's also the overlap disappears, basically because the energy, the PV energy, goes down. It's not able to cover anymore. But here in the middle of the day, it's covering, except for a few times where maybe there's some clouds or there's some abrupt change. Those are the two main reasons for not perfect overlap, but that's fine. What we are looking for is not perfect overlap, but good overlap. That's what we are looking for in export control, and that's what we see in this system here. That's the PV. Now we see the load together. That's the load alone. That's together with PV. So this is very good. So, you know, why the confusing thing for many people is that if you don't have export control, this curve would be very high here. It would go up here, you know, to 4,000 or 5,000 watts on a sunny day, and it would be smooth. So that then when you look at the app, when you are in export control mode, it's confusing because the values don't go as high. So many people think that maybe there's something wrong and I have to make sure that the system is working and everything like that. And obviously in the beginning, especially in the beginning, we talk quite often or whenever it's necessary with the customer to explain and take a look, confirm to the customer that the system is working. Because it can be confusing when the numbers fluctuate a lot. There's maybe the internet is a little bit slow, so the numbers don't reflect what you're doing. Also, there's delay in some applications. So when you, let's say, turn on an inverter air condition, it can take up to a minute or more before that load is taken from the house properly, or from the electrical system and solar. Why is that? It's just the way inverter air conditioners work, and they are supposed to be like that, because if not, they would suddenly take many thousands of watts. And that's how the old air conditioners worked. But we don't want that. We want the increase to be gradual, and we want the compressor to be able to adjust after the amount of coldness that we want. That's a much more efficient way of having an air condition. So that's why the inverter air conditioners work like that. But it can be confusing when you look in the solar app, because when you turn on the air condition, you don't see the load increase immediately. You have to wait. So many things like that. Of course, when you have a new system, you are not used to all these things. So it can be really confusing in the beginning. What's going on? Why are the numbers like that? So when I look at these graphs, my comments to the customer would be that if this was a sunny day, that he would have more available energy. So if he's able to move activity to the daytime, he has more potential in the system that is untapped right now, because he's maxing out at 2000 watts. So he probably has a lot more energy available that is not used right now. But you know, people have different plans with their life, so I cannot say that there's something wrong here. The customer might have plans to add more equipment, like a pool or something like that, and that is often the case when we talk to a customer, that they install a solar system and later on they have plans to extend and expand the electrical usage, of course, because that's one reason why you get solar, so you can mitigate the cost of the future electrical. So, and of course, if this was not a sunny day, it's possible that the customer knew what he was doing and didn't use as much. So he stayed within the power of the solar system. So it could also be that, but most likely, because they are following each other so closely, the curves, most likely there's more energy available here that he can tap if he just starts more appliances in daytime. Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to subscribe and check out other videos on our channel.